How are you, good people? We are up to day 5 and we are up to the throat chakra. If you do not know, my name is Nicole Yvonne and this is Healing on the Mat. I thank you for joining with me, whether you're new or you've been coming. I appreciate anyone that takes the time to listen. So if you like it, please like, share, subscribe, and or follow. But we are up to the throat chakra and we have been talking about aligning the chakras, and we are up to the throat. And a wonderful thing about the chakra system that I like is that when we look at the rainbow, there are 7 colors in the rainbow, and the chakra system aligns with the 7 colors in the rainbow. Each chakra is assigned a note. And it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You could take off the last do, because we start with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And if you take the speed of light by the frequency of that note, that's how you come up with the colors that are in the chakra system. So one reason that sound bowls cost so much is because if they're fine tuned to that frequency, that's what makes them cost a lot more, because that fine tuning is critical in order to make sure that the bowl is effective and that it does what it's supposed to do. I think they tie together and they show us how beautiful he is and how beautiful his creation is. And so when we get to the throat chakra, I like it because the color is blue. It resonates with water because water purifies, it cleanses, it's clarity. But the throat chakra also ties back to all of our senses, our voice box, our scent, our nose, our eyes, our ears. And so what we hear, all these things are tools for communication. And I love it because I told y'all I'm a sensate. So everything sensory can help us in this meditation process. When we see the colors that I play in the background oftentimes, or when you see the colors of the chakra system, that helps to your meditation process because it's helping your mind in the background hone in on that area. Color plays a huge role in you being able to understand things, concepts, and it plays with the mind in a positive way. Scent. That's why I always tell you to find your favorite essential oils before you start your practice, or light a candle. I love candles. They do so much to calm the body. But when it comes to the throat, your ears are very profound too. So the music that we listen to, that note, being able to listen to soothing musical, classical music, what you hear, and there is so much more to hear than we think. And that is all a part of the throat chakra. And when it's out of a balance or alignment, you can have esophagus issues. You can have issues with digesting your food in terms of getting it down and swallowing. You could have issues with hearing. You could have issues with anything that has to do with this part of the body. Sinuses, very bad sinuses issues. There are a number of things that can take place, just like any other parts. There is always some sort of sickness or ailment associated with it being out of line. And the throat chakra is meant for us to speak up. So if you all remember yesterday, I talked about the class that I'm taking, and it's employee wellness and counseling, and how we need to listen. Listen, Linda, listen. We need to listen way more than we listen. We need to listen to hear. We need to listen to understand. We need to listen for spiritual wisdom. We need to listen so much more than we do, than we think we need to. And so I'm going to get to hear, but first I want you to understand sound, because it is so closely tied here. A lot of times we are listening to respond. We're listening to defend ourselves. We're listening to what is surface level, just like we see visually. When we look at social media, we are seeing other people flaunt their lives in front of our face. We are seeing other people and how they progress and how they succeed, and it's only what meets the eye. Well, it's the same with hearing. Hearing, there is so much more depth to it. And how do you hear on a grander scale? Well, one, like I explained, the type of music that we take in and listen to. I listen to my hip hip hop music and I like to get down sometimes, but a lot of times, especially when I'm driving or in traffic or when I'm meditating, I am listening to very different music than what I used to listen to. It keeps me calm. It keeps my mind focused. A lot of times I will be listening to the high frequency music, even in the car, or especially when I go to sleep, because it's balancing me out. If you listen right now, if I'm quiet, try it in your own time. But even when there's silence, there's not silence. I can hear the humming of the refrigerator being plugged in. I can hear the birds outside. I can hear the waves bouncing off the walls. Even as I sit in silence, I can still hear the vibrations bouncing off the walls. There is so much more to hear. And when you take time to focus on your sound, you start to hear noise that is spiritual. You start to hear more than what meets the eye. This is why at night, you should be listening to high frequency music, or you should be listening to spiritual meditations and guidance. You should be listening to scripture. You should have the TV off. You really shouldn't even have your phone in your room with you, because it's still sound waves. But at least if you're going to have it there, try to have it produce good sound waves that balance out your body. It drowns out all the chaos noise that we hear, so that you can get to the depth of the noise that you need to hear. It is in that meditation. It is in that midnight hour. It is in that deep, dark silence that you hear the awakening of the spiritual calling, that you hear God himself, that you hear the word of the Lord, that your your dreams can be you hearing from God. That is your truth. So that it also leads to you hearing the truth of you, the true self, the true soul, the true connection to the divine. It is in the silence that you hear. But like I said, remember, it's never completely silent. So you practice on your own time and see what you can hear. But I play with my sound bowl. I do this quite often, so I can hear on a level that most people are not fine-tuned to hear. That's why frequency matters. And so in some instances, I've heard it called demonic, but there are sounds in heaven. There are sounds that help us tune in. The church bell has a defined sound for a reason. The crown note sounds like a church bell. And so those things play a part. Then you're listening for clarity. You're listening for understanding. You're listening for investigation. You're listening to hear. I believe scripture says, taste and see, right? And in that same vein, there's other scriptures. I don't have them all. My one scripture for today, I'll get to in a minute. But there are other scriptures that say you can hear God through sight. You can see and hear. You can taste and see. All your senses play a role in you understanding what is good, what is faithful, what is true and noble and upright. And how are we listening to learn more? How are we listening to hear more than what meets the eye? How are we listening to that little small, still voice inside that guides us and directs us? And then there is still hearing yourself, right? Do you hear the voices in your head, so to speak? Are you hearing positive voices when you listen in silence? Are you trying to drown out the noise? Are you trying to escape what you hear? We need to take time to slow down and listen to what we hear. I have friends and I've talked to them, and they are running from the hard situations. They are running from facing the difficult things because they know it's there and they can't bring themselves to deal with it. When we slow down and we stop and we listen, we hear answers. We hear solutions. We hear peace. We might hear pain, and that is okay. You cannot conquer it until you face it. And so what are you listening to? How is it guiding you? How are you being blessed by it? And then how are you not? Because again, where is it guiding you? And sometimes we avoid listening to the hard stuff. We avoid listening to the deep stuff. We avoid listening to what we know we need to hear. It's avoidance. And now we get to this throat. And the throat chakra can be hindered in so many different ways. One, I'll say the Black household, I'm sure it's many other households, but I grew up in a Black household. I'm Black, I'm African American. It is definitely in our households that we are taught that what happens in this house stays in this house. And I get it. It is protection to the family. It is protection to outside influences and thoughts and opinions. And sometimes we do deserve a level of privacy that needs to be maintained. However, a lot of times when we say that, we are asking people to keep deep, dark secrets that have hurt them, that have caused them harm, that are protecting people just out of it being family. And that's not okay. Yes, there is a space for us to talk to the right people. Everybody doesn't need to be in the business, but to just simply tell a child, because most of this happens as children, you're not supposed to say anything. Then they shut down when something major really happens, or they do speak up and you tell them, no, that's not true. Or you tell them, no, that didn't happen. Or you tell them, okay, well, it happened, but you're not supposed to say anything. Get over it. Now, as adults, they're shutting down and they're allowing things to continue to happen to them that they're not speaking up on. And it has hindered their voice. It has also hindered their view of themselves. It has also hindered their view of the world. And so like we said yesterday, these first three, we have to learn to forgive in order to speak up. And sometimes that means forgiving ourselves or learning that we do have a voice that can be used and it is safe to use it. Now, how you tell the story, how you approach the story, that's the balancing act, because we could also use this voice for negative. We could also be so angry at the situation and now we're speaking up and we're doing it in defiance. We're doing it in haste and anger and frustration, as opposed to really, truly trying to heal the situation. But when you learn to speak up, you're speaking up for yourself. You're speaking up for other people that have been through your same experience, to either prevent it from happening, because maybe now you know the signs of what could take place. I'm so deeply thinking about molestation, but there's so many other things. There's affairs, there's cheating, there's money habits, there are so many other things. But the first thing that comes to my mind is child molestation. And so, but you insert whatever it needs to be for you. But when you learn to speak up, then you learn how to tell somebody else how to manage the situation, how to protect themselves from the situation, how to, if they've been through it, possibly heal from the situation. But you can't heal yourself unless you first face the truth. And so that brings me to the one scripture that I have for today, John 8:32. It is, you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. It is on my shoulder. It is tattooed from my divorce, because that situation taught me so much truth telling. And the voice should speak up, as we talked about, for truth, for justice, for clarity, for what is right, for spiritual awareness, for upliftment, for positivity, for all of these things. And when we're dragged down low, sometimes that's hard. When we're trying to protect everybody else, sometimes that's hard. Even when we speak the truth and everybody tries to shun it or tell you, oh, just place that to the side, that's shutting somebody's voice down. And now we have situations where people come out fighting and swinging. I'm telling you, when I learned about how people really work, I came out swinging. My words were harsh. They were strong, because I realized how many games were being played with me. And I'm not even talking about in my marriage. I'm not talking about intentionally. I'm just talking about with people in general. When I saw the overarching thing of what was happening with people, myself included, I was so angry that I came out swinging. And that was with my words and my tongue too. And so we have to learn how to protect that at an earlier age. We have to learn how to use our voice at an earlier age. We have to learn how not to shut people down at an earlier age. And we have to learn how to use our voice for what is good, what is right, what is pure, because using the voice in that regard protects so much. It heals so much. It saves so much. So the same way we have good energy with this heart, the tongue is a lethal weapon. The same way we share good energy and light with just the vibration of us, so do we with this mouth. And I am guilty in the past of not understanding that or even caring to acknowledge it. And I've said hurtful things. I've done hurtful things with my voice. Whereas now I want to speak up for something good. I want to speak up for something right. I want to help people grow. That all takes growth. It takes maturity. And that's why I told you this heart chakra is even keel. It's even balance, because we want a voice that is full of clarity. But remember that sound, what you take in, what you digest affects the mind, and it affects what comes out of the heart, which is typically through the voice and our actions. And so what are you taking in? I'm gonna go back to that. What are you taking in? When you meditate, when we go through this practice, we're not just sitting there repeating a mantra just to wish and hope that it happens. We are sitting there telling ourselves how to retrain the mind. Remember, neuroplasticity is a wonderful tool and mechanism that is in our body that allows us to replenish and grow new. But it takes work. It takes time. It takes practice. It takes dedication to changing it. So neurologically, we've been through the traumatic experience, or we've been through the hardship. We've been through the trauma, the bad thing, the negative. Now we have to grow, because you can't continuously blame somebody else. At some point, you have to take the actions for yourself. And neurologically, when we expose ourselves to new things, to new sounds, to new scents, to new experiences, to new people, to new knowledge, to new wisdom, you take the meat, you leave the bones, but all that newness helps to restore your mind. It helps to send new neurons that signal new, good, positive energy up and through your body and to your mind, so that it's recalibrated and that all of these chakras align. And so when we sit down in the floor to meditate, and today it will be the throat, I am voice, I am sound, I hear what is good. I hear what is appropriate. I speak what is good. I speak what is appropriate. I speak what is light. I speak what is wisdom. I speak what is love. Those are the things that you need to focus on. But when you're saying those things, you're not just saying them to say it. You're saying them because you want it to resonate with your soul. You want to change the frequency within your body so that it is purified and made new. You want to change the frequency in your body so that your thoughts are restored, so that your actions are restored, so that your vision is restored, so that even that traumatic experience, yes, we have triggers, and I'm not telling you anything that will take away from you having triggers. There are triggers, and if those are triggers, you hold on to your triggers. But God makes everything new. So even that scent can be transformed. If it was a scent that brought trauma, it can be transformed and it's sent into a scent that now brings joy, that does not bring pain. And yeah, that's the throat chakra. And so again, the color is blue. If you like me and you love the beach and you go sit there, that is something to hone in on what you're speaking up for, because the ocean speaks, the water speaks. It speaks good and it speaks bad. When those storms come and it's crashing and it's thrashing and it's danger arising, it might not be speaking so good in that moment. But when it's calm and when the oceans are peaceful, or when the waves are peaceful, and when they're just smashing up against something to resound like the heaven and the earth is crying out goodness, holy, it speaks good. It speaks light. It speaks knowledge. It speaks wisdom. It speaks purity. It speaks clarity. This is also your communication style. Like, we all have different communication styles, but as we grow and as we develop, we are trying to make sure that we get to a place where we understand good communication skills. So if you feel like your throat is a tool that you need to hone in on and improve, then you start taking lessons on communication skills, effective communication styles, learning how to listen so that you can hear so much more. The throat leads to damages in relationships because sometimes we're so angry and defensive to proceed with the dark side of the traumatic things that we've been through, that we hear oftentimes what the person isn't even saying. I know in my marriage that a lot of times I would speak and I think that person would hear something that I didn't say because maybe I said something that was a trigger. But when we can't communicate to understand the triggers, when we can't communicate to understand the difficulties that we face and the challenges so that we can know, then we've shut down all communication and nothing is effective because we don't want to face it. And so we have to face it. We have to be clear, but it's also learning how to speak up for yourself. As a little girl, I was so quiet. I was so quiet and I was so observant, but I don't think that I ever was quiet to understand me. I was always quiet to understand how to appease to everybody else. And it wasn't until after marriage that I learned how to be quiet to appease me. And remember that self first plays such a major role, but we need to be quiet also in order to understand self. Because like I said, I was so quiet and I was always people watching and always trying to observe. And then I just try to adapt to each person. I try to see how I could fit in everybody's space except my own. And it wasn't that I was uncomfortable being alone, but I wasn't listening to what I needed. I wasn't listening to how to speak up for myself. I wasn't listening. And so when I did speak up for myself, by the time I got to that point, it normally came out as rage. It normally came out as anger or frustration, and it wasn't effective communication. And so we need to work on that because, you know, in my marriage, it ended. Neither person was right or wrong. It's just what happened. And I can tell you my shortcomings in it. I did not always speak up for myself. And when I did start to speak up for myself, sometimes it wasn't anger because I was frustrated and because I felt like nobody saw me. But I also did not set the right terms for anybody to see me. And so when you also learn how to use this voice, you learn with clarity how to speak up for yourself. And just like in this situation, it leads to your gifts. It leads to your talents. It leads to your income. It leads to your successes and wins when it comes to monetary gains, because now you figured out how to use this voice and what for. And so this one was a little deeper. I hope that this brought clarity to you. I hope that it brought some light to you. And when we come back, we will be sitting in the floor to do the meditation for this throat chakra. But until next time, I hope you all keep inhaling life. I hope you keep exhaling death. And I hope you keep using this voice for good. I hope that you use it to serve you and others. And I hope that it leads you to so much of an abundance and so much of a blessing. And make sure you're using those ears too to hear all the goodness that life has to offer, because when we're not listening with clarity, we can hear all the materialistic, vain things that this world has to offer. We can hear all the chaos that this world has to offer. But there's so much good in this world if you just have eyes to see and ears to hear and speak what you wish to and desire for it to be like. Until next time, I love y'all.